Members, we have reached the appointed time and the quorum has been formed. Please be seated. Let's get an early start in the new year. A reminder for members, if in relation to the matters that we are going to deal with this afternoon, then please act in accordance with the of Rule 83A of Rules of Procedure and disclose your interests if you have any direct or indirect pecuniary interests. Also, in Rule 84, there are certain requirements or rules concerning voting. Please pay attention to this as well. Item number 1, FCR 2012-1363. Members are invited to approve the recommendations of the Establishment Subcommittee made at its meeting held on the 5th of December 2012. And that is the recommendations in the ESC submissions, or EC 2012-13, number 11 and 12. Questions? No one has asked for separate or voting on the various items. If members have no questions, I'll now put the item to a vote. For those in favor of FCR 2012-13, number 63, please raise your hands. Those against, please raise your hands. I think the majority of members are in favor of this proposal, this item. The item is endorsed. Number 2, FCR 2012-13, number 64. This item seeks members' approval of the recommendations of the Public Works Subcommittee made at its meetings held on the 28th of November and the 17th of December 2012. There are 9 recommendations. Some PWSC members have requested that PWSC 2012-13 number 37 be voted on separately at this FC meeting. If members have no other questions, I would take out PWSC 2012-13 number 37 and put FCR 2013 number 64 to a vote. For those in favor of FCR 2012-13 number 64, please raise your hands. Those against, please raise your hands. I think the majority of members are in favor of this item. The item is endorsed. For the item to be voted on separately, we're now dealing with PWSC bracket 2012-13 number 37. This is in relation to upgrading certain parts of GB 13GB the project, and that is the construction and relevant facilities of Liantang and Hengyun Way boundary crossing points, pre-construction consultancy services at a budget of $180,000 of dollars at MOD prices, and also to maintain the remaining part of the project 13GB as Category B. For this item, we have Permanent Secretary for Development, Mr. Y.G. Singh, Ms. Ao Kit Ying, the PAS, Director of Architectural Services, Mr. Leung Kun Kei, Ms. Chen Hoi Ming, Project Director, Deputy Director of the CED, Mr. Yip Kwai Hung. Does any member wish to raise questions? Ms. Sit Ho, please press the button. Yes, I can see it now. Dr. Fernando Zhang did not. I know Ms. Lau has also pressed the button. Well, a number of members told the administration that there would be insufficient car parking spaces there, because there are more and more cross-boundary vehicles. So apart from Liantang and Hengyuan and the roads nearby, there will be vehicles coming to other parts of Hong Kong via the boundary crossing point. What is our road capacity? Will there be a cap put on incoming vehicles from the mainland? Because mainland is so big, we cannot really accommodate a lot of vehicles coming that way. Permanent Secretary, as we set out in the supplementary information, we have a 4-stage assessment. When we plan a cross-boundary infrastructure, we would project certain figures. We look at not just the traffic generated at the BCP, but also on the impact on the local traffic in Hong Kong. We look at the impact on the road networks concerned, and then we decide on how to put in place additional measures. So what kind of indicators would you use in deciding whether there should be a cap put on the number of vehicles? Permanent Secretary, when we want to carry out a certain project, we'll have to look at the TIA findings and whether we can handle the findings or the needs generated from the TIA. I don't think this is really an answer, but I don't think I can get anywhere even if I ask further questions. I think everyone should monitor the future development closely. Ms. Emily Lau, thank you. I would like to thank the government for giving us the supplementary paper concerning page 4. I want to get some figures about the number 6 BCP. If you look at page 5 on Law Wu and Lok Ma Chau, last year for Law Wu and Lok Ma Chau, the highest passenger number is or percentage utilization rate is 83% and 93% respectively. And in paragraph in table 2A, are we saying that after the work we can handle the traffic, the people using it? If you look at Sam Chun Bay, 113,000. In the future is 111,000. I don't understand these figures. Can you please elaborate? Permanent Secretary. As I've said, when we know that the possible congestion may take place in existing BCPs, we have to consider providing more. So we'd like to get more other than Liantang and Hengyuan so as to enhance the capacity there. As for 2A, Sam Chun Bay, 113,000 is the peak period. In a very short period of time, the number of people passing through that BCP. Normally, the Immigration Department can handle such a short-term surge through the management measures or diversion measures. So there should be one more column on Liantang, because there will be some diversion in the future. Shouldn't you do that to help us understand the future situation? So in the future, it will be manageable. Well, of course, we have the figures. Well, we haven't put it in the table because that's our understanding of your request. Well, they only give you the first part. There will be a new BCP. I was asking how many people were using the new BCP, so that existing BCPs would have the number of users reduced. That was what I asked, as I set out in 1B, we explain the way projections are made under this model with the Liantang, the BCP, how many people and vehicles will be using it, and we have already taken this into account. Do you have figures of different BCPs? 2A, 4. The number of users for the 4 BCPs. 1B, page 3, 28,750 people. This for Liantang. So you put this 28,750 to 2A. That will be it. Do you understand, Chairman? I don't. Chairman, you understand what I want, but I cannot really link up the two figures. Many members were concerned at that meeting that we would like to know more about how the new BCP would help. Can you understand, Chairman? Well, 28,000 odd. And table 2A, the capacity. 2A, there are 3 rows. The name of the BCP, capacity, and then the average number of users. Liantang is not yet commissioned, so we have nothing for Liantang now. As for capacity, handling capacity, 28,750. I think Ms. Emily Lau is trying to ask you with Liantang, what about the number of people diverted from the existing 4 BCPs? Is that what you are asking, Ms. Emily Lau? Do you have any ballpark figures? You must have some projection with you. Do you have the projected figures? Never mind if it's just ballpark figures for Liantang and other BCPs. Mr. Yip? Well, actually, I don't have these figures. As the Permanent Secretary has said, we commissioned a consultant to look into the numbers of people and vehicles and the number of such vehicles and people that will be diverted from the existing BCPs. I can liaise with the Secretariat to provide the information later. So you have covered this in your study, but you can provide a figure later on. Yes. I don't know why the communication was so poorly done. Well, I made my request very clear. That a number of members, including me, asked what kind of future arrangements would be like. I hope next time you would make sure that you understand our questions, and then we can have a smooth handling of the application. Dr. Fernando Zhang. Well, this is closely related. This Liantang BCP is very closely related to the Northeast NT development. This is close to Peng Che, Takuleng. There are 3 areas in Northeast NT. This is the closest one, and then Fanning North all the way to Long Mei. We know that funding has more or less been approved and for Liantang, and the work is going on because we are concerned about the integration with Shamjan. And the worry is that the land is not going to be utilized for our own needs.
Especially for the underprivileged in Hong Kong, they don't have adequate housing. They have to live in subdivided flats. They live under very poor conditions. But we are now building the BCP, probably for the benefit of people coming from the north, so that they can have fun and enjoy themselves and even live in Hong Kong, and that is unfair. We have a positive view regarding integration of Hong Kong with the mainland. But if the land resources in Hong Kong are not being enjoyed by the people of Hong Kong in a fair manner, then we are worried. looking at it from this perspective, we're worried that the Lintang BCP, you have the so-called coming in and out through the east and the 1 hour, living zone. It's very convenient for people to come down or to Hong Kong or to drive vehicles into Hong Kong as individual visitors. And if they don't even apply, they don't need to apply for a visa, then the merging of the two cities will be further facilitated at this BCP. It's a key that will open our doors wide open. According to your figures, I think the figures are very interesting. On page 3, projected, visitor numbers. You assume that if the visitors don't need to apply for visa, you're talking about 37,000 people per day. If visas require 28,750, a difference of 1,950. Difference between visa require between whether or not the visitors would require visas. Originally, you adopted the number of $28,000, and you simply added 6.7% if people can come without visas. I think this is a very conservative estimate. And also, after you've developed Northeast NT, many people may come and live there. In Ping Chair, there could be luxury apartments built, and people from Shenzhen can, cross the border and go to Ping Chair, and they may work there and live in Hong Kong. They may go back home in the evening. Do you have such assumptions? So have you considered the projections based on whether or not the visitors would need visas, and also the fact about people living in Northeast NT? Regarding visa requirements, when we have cross-border projects, normally we have the best case and worst case scenarios, and we also have the maximum and lowest projection. The optimistic projection is that we assume there is limited restrictions. For example, there's no need for visitors to obtain visas. The other one is to adopt the present approach, that is visas are required for these visitors to come. Why is it that you have the figures of difference of 30,700 and 28,700? I think for this border, we have two different types of BCP. One is for vehicular traffic, the other one is through the railway system. Normally, people will cross the border through trains. So we have more than 500,000 visitors, most of whom will come through the railways. For the vehicular border crossing, according to our projection, restrictions, if there are these restrictions, it will reduce the number of the traffic flow. Chairman, may I ask, in your projection, have you taken into consideration the development plan for the Northeast NT? Have you taken that factor into consideration? Permanent Secretary, see you could perhaps respond to that. I believe that when we made our projection, the development of the project for the development of Northeast NT has not yet been finalized, so that has not been taken in consideration. Well, do you think then this will have an impact on the figures? Would you reconsider your estimates? Well, since I don't have any details regarding the population for the NT Northeast development, if the number is not very large, then, as we said to the PWSC the last time, in our design, we've taken the number of people crossing the border at a particular period of time. So even if the size of the BCP has not been enlarged, the method adopted for customs clearance, if we could fine-tune that, we can already increase the number of increase the number of people crossing the BCP. Whatever data we we use to make our estimates. When we design any project, we cannot encompass all the possible changes which might take place in the future. Last time, members are concerned about whether or not there are sufficient parking spaces. Together with the Permanent Secretary, I've already explained that at any particular BCP, if the vehicular traffic and human traffic is reaching its maximum capacity, but before that, the department's concern will certainly monitor the situation closely to see whether there's still any spare capacity to cope with the future traffic flow, vehicular traffic flow, and the flow of visitors. We've found that for some of the BCPs, they are already reaching saturation point, and there is already some overcrowding, and that's why we are identifying sites to build additional BCPs. Claudia Mo. Thank you. The people of Hong Kong, especially those living in the northeast of the NT, can see clearly that what you're now talking about is part of the development of Northeast NT, but you are, submitting this project, in isolation. Ms. Sit Ho asked you to consider whether or not you will set a ceiling for vehicular traffic. But Fernando Cheung asked about the projected number of visitors coming, and whether or not they will be required to obtain visas, and you have two scenarios. My question is this: at this particular BCP, with the individual travelers and people who can drive to Hong Kong, you say there is no limit, but you need to carry out an impact assessment study. Well, the BCP is yet to be built, and yet you are already saying that you will not consider this in the context of the development of Northeast NT. This is not acceptable. I think when you conduct any planning, you should adopt an overall, you should make an overall situation. You can't, do things in pieces and then you link the different pieces together and say that the development of NT Northeast will work. So can you give us the undertaking that when you conduct your impact study, at least 3 months after the implementation of this BCP, you report to all the people of Hong Kong, and you shouldn't just come to LegCo. I want you to make a public announcement as to why you need or you don't need to restrict the number of individual travelers and also those who come to Hong Kong by car. In Para 3, we've already explained that when we, we've already taken that into consideration. Whereas for the people the scheme for allow people to drive to Hong Kong, that is still being planned, and since we don't have accurate planning data, it's difficult for us to make the projections, and our colleagues already explained that once we have more accurate planning data, we will be able to make a more accurate estimate. Chairman, I really would like you to give us a timetable. Permanent Secretary. Ms. Mo, what timetable do you mean? Well, the impact study, the scope, when the timetable will be available. Thank you, Ms. Mo. According to our planning data, I think the impact study has already been completed. For Northeast NT, no, I'm saying the impact after the implementation of BCP. Would you need to, set a ceiling on the numbers at the time? I think the relevant bureaus and the TD will certainly conduct a review. What about the timetable? When? They will continuously conduct a review. How long after the commissioning of the BCP will you make that assessment? Ms. Mo is asking that once you've completed this project, will you also disclose the findings of your estimate? Chairman, what I mean is that our assessment has already been concluded, and on the basis of that assessment, we're now building this BCP. Once the BCP is commissioned, you will still need to monitor the situation. whether there will be traffic jam. When you answer Ms. Ho's question, you say you want to wait until the BCP is completed before you decide whether or not you want to set a ceiling. How long after the commissioning will you conduct that assessment? I said that at the planning stage, normally we would make projections for the minimum and the maximum. That has been done already. I don't quite agree, Chairman. I must interrupt here. Why is it that myself, the Chairman, and Ms. Ho have all misunderstood what you said? When you answered Ms. Ho's question, you didn't say this. You said that you will continue to do this upon commissioning. You will conduct an impact assessment study before you decide whether or not in future you need to set a ceiling for the number of vehicles coming. With my answer earlier, I said for the time being, we will not consider setting a ceiling. I'm saying that upon commissioning, will you consider that? I think I agree that you've said that. The question is that once this BCP has been commissioned, whatever the traffic situation, does it mean that you will not conduct any further assessment? Upon commissioning, the Transport Bureau and the TD will conduct an inspection. Inspection, not review. You talk about inspection. They will look at how the BCP operates. Well, that would still be an impact assessment. Do you know when they will do this? Like all the BCPs, they will do it continuously. They will not conduct any particular assessment. Mr. Abraham Shack, Chairman, I don't know whether I'm stupid. I really understand the Permanent Secretary. I think there is a limit for each and every BCP. During the peak, it should have a capacity for the peak and how many people can cross the border. You look at existing BCPs; they are all fully saturated. We need to open a BCP because there are opening hours for each of the BCPs. You can count the peak number coming in and out of Hong Kong, and the Permanent Secretary explained this very clearly already. Perhaps I'm sitting closer to the Permanent Secretary, I don't know. I think he has explained that very carefully. For one BCP, you can calculate how many people can come in and leave. And you can find out the number of people going to the mainland through each of the BCPs. And Dr. Fernando asked whether or not whether you have made an assessment about the novice NP. But if you can't take account of the number of people crossing the border, you do not conduct account for the different districts. Rather, you would simply make an estimate of the overall figure. And even for novice NT, we're only talking about 150,000 people. I don't think all 150,000 people will cross the border at the same time. If you go to Lo Wu and Wang Guang, you find that they are already saturated. Not to mention incoming visitors. There are problems for Hong Kong people leaving the BCPs. So we don't. That's how they conduct the study, I believe. I like to declare that that I'm a director of the MTRC, which operate railway service to both BCPs. I don't think you need a reply to this. I'm just trying to state my understanding of what the official was saying. Dr. Kwok.
We're concerned about the capacity of this boundary crossing point. According to the government paper, let's look at, say, Shenzhen Bay. The design capacities is 111,000. Lok Ma Chau 118, and now it's 80,700. So there's a difference between the design capacity and the current usage. Of course, it's difficult to estimate what kind of usage it would be in the future. But I cannot agree with some of the points made in the paper. You say it's difficult to estimate, and you cannot answer whether there will be any impact brought by the mainland drivers driving to Hong Kong. As far as we can see, it's a very controversial idea to allow mainland drivers to come to Hong Kong. The current trial scheme is just in the first phase. I don't know whether by doing this, the government is presenting a fait accompli, and that you are determined to implement driving or to allow drivers to go to Shenzhen and Shenzhen drivers to come to Hong Kong. There are many people expressing environmental concerns. So I don't know whether this is really the intention of the government. Well, Lian Tang is going to cost us a lot of money. There will be economic benefits arising from passenger traffic and vehicular traffic. And if it's not as good as Shenzhen Bay BCP, are you not wasting public money for no good cause? As regards the driver scheme, the self-drive scheme, this is a trial scheme. The Transport and Housing Bureau would conduct the trial and then assess how or if it will be expanded. As for the utilization of Lian Tang, whether it will be as good as Shenzhen Bay, well, we have the projected number of passengers, and we rely on this. It's 28,750, which forms the basis for the design. If there are more than that in the future, we will resort to other measures, as I mentioned. For example, we can have more e-channels, or some diversion measures will be put in place. If that can still not good enough, we may have to plan for more BCPs. But there are many BCPs which have not reached its maximum capacity. For example, Shenzhen Bay BCP. And you want to do this, are you not wasting money? Well, BCP can be in operation for many years. Shenzhen Bay BCP has just been commissioned for a few years, and the number of users would gradually grow. Next, Mr. Wong Kok Heng. Thank you, Chairman. I support the submission, the item. We must have a BCP in the east. It will facilitate communication between Hong Kong and Shenzhen, and it can also alleviate the heavy traffic flow of other BCPs. The government should be more far-sighted. It must be visionary. Apart from roads or highways, shouldn't you be considering railway as well? Do you have a plan to make sure that the Northern Loop in the future would reach this location, Hung Yuen Wai, Sha Tau Kok, Man Kam To, and so on? Second, can we have a spur line linking up with Hung Yuen Wai for the Lo Wu line? I'm talking about Lo Wu line of Israel. Now we have a spur line to Lok Ma Chau. It's very helpful. It's a welcome extension. So is there going to be a spur line of the Israel reaching Hung Yuen Wai? I think that would go some way to meeting the demand of people who want to cross the boundary in the east side. Permanent Secretary, well, I cannot give you any definitive answer now, Mr. Wong, because the Railway Development Strategy 2000 is now under consultation. The Northern Loop and other future railway projects will be considered in the long-term planning. Chairman, so although you cannot give us any definitive answer now, I would like to put on record that I would like the government to be visionary and far-sighted in terms of such needs in the long term. I'm talking about the Northern Loop. In the north, second, in relation to East Rail, it should be able to reach Hengyun Wai to facilitate cross-boundary passengers. I hope I can put this on record, and I hope the government will consider this. Well, the study referred to is the subject of a consultation. I'm going to relate Mr. Wong's views to the Transport and Housing Bureau. Dr. Fernando Zhang, for the second round, the Development Bureau has made it very clear that in planning for Liantang BCP and also the model to project the number of passengers and number of vehicles, it has been done without any linkage or with the Northeast NT. And Mr. Abraham Sheck has tried to explain it for them. I cannot really understand. We're talking about the same Development Bureau. It's just your left hand vis-a-vis your right hand. According to the CE, the Northeast NT is going to the biggest development project that we are going to have in the future. We're talking about a big population, 150,000, 800 hectares of land. This is what I can see, the biggest development project in the coming 5 years. And the project will involve the biggest piece of land that we can think of. How can it not be related to Liantang? Because it's just a 5 minutes drive from Liantang to Pingche and Taku Land. And a 15-minute drive would take you to any of the new development areas in Northeast NT. If it's so, why are you saying that you are not going to take into account this factor? This is to the east, and Shamjan is also to the east of this PCP. Normally, that's not where we have developments. So Liantang BCP obviously will bring about a new landscape in the Northeast NT. And since it's all within your bureau, how come you have not taken this into account? Because you're responsible for planning on both sides. The officials have been saying that you cannot project everything, but you are responsible for planning. You should have projected various things like this. So what's your responsibility? It's your responsibility. How come you come here and say that you cannot project these things? As I see it, we have the biggest project in the coming 5 years, and you are saying that you haven't taken that into account. So what have you been doing? We are not saying that we would not take this into account. It's our responsibility to do planning. I think Mr. Abraham Sheck was saying that when we do the planning or the planning for the BCP, we did not just look at the development in Northeast NT. We look at the development in the whole territory. Sorry, I have to interrupt. My question is very clear. In your projection model, have you taken into account the development of Northeast NT? And now he's playing a game of words. You are saying that you do not just take that into account. The answer is that you did not take that into account. That's why I find it curious. Please don't play games of words with us. Permanent Secretary, I have to remind you, there's no need for you to elaborate what Mr. Abraham Shek has said. If necessary, he can explain himself. Please just answer Dr. Fernando Jones' question. Let me just do that in response to Dr. Fernando Jones' question. I've already explained why that particular factor was not included in our consideration. There was no fixed plan for Northeast NT. It's still we have no planning data to take on board. Mr. Yip, maybe I didn't make myself clear. Let me explain. Also, in response to Dr. Fernando Jones' question, I know what he's trying to seek when we assess the capacity of any link road to meet a future need. We have to project the number of vehicles that would be using the link road leading to the BCP. We also incorporate in the transport modeling the future development along the way. In the simulation, I was saying that we did not incorporate the actual traffic flow in the simulation arising from Northeast NT because there's none. There's no data. But we have already taken on board some minor developments along the way. But of course, we do not know at this stage how Northeast NT would be developed in the future. So, but we have make accommodation for a small number of vehicles coming that way, and those will use our link road. Can in the future we include a railway? That's possible. But if you want us to look at a wider area, can that still be possible? Well, I'm not sure. We'll look at that again if the scale is bigger than this. But the road itself is not just for vehicles crossing the boundary, because it will link up with Fanang with the BCP. So along the way, Shatawgor, Tagulang, and Northeast NT would also be served. So we have made some accommodation that there will be some vehicles coming from Northeast NT. But we have not specifically focused on the number of people that will be living in Northeast NT. So it's a sort of ballpark projection. It's impossible for us to look at each smaller districts and assess how many people will be going to this new PCP. The approach is more macro than general level. Yeah, I think you are telling the truth. You did not take into account Northeast NT because you didn't know that it would be taken forward. When we asked the Northeast NT, well, you change your stories and your papers a number of times. You, being the subordinates, you were kept in the dark. Well, because every CE has proposed different things. CH Tung proposed that it should be used for containers, and with SARS, that was cancelled, and then Mr. Donald Zhang revived that, and now Mr. C.Y. Leung has made it very clear. So this is a part of the integration plan with Samjan, and then he changed the story to one providing housing solutions. He may say that it's a housing plus integration with Samjan. Well, certainly the two purposes can be served. When you speak about one, he would respond by saying that it's about the other. And when you challenge him, he would change his response to suit the questions. No, it's not about integration. It's about housing. So they keep changing the stories. I was involved in scrutinizing the Liantang plan. I said that it's going to be a BCP? Was there a real need? But the answers were not very clear. If you say there's a need for Liantang to link up with Northeast NT, from Northeast NT, also link up Northeast NT to the urban area, that I can understand. So when you have so much blood injected into a certain area, how can the blood be taken out again? Traffic congestion is very serious in Tai Po, my constituency. If you regard the entire Hong Kong territory as a big chessboard, you have to consider various means to serve the BCP traffic.
The large BCP, you have to have plans to sort of dissipate the traffic. Otherwise, it wouldn't work. So you have to give us the explanation. You're now spending so much money to build a new BCP. How can we ensure that this will really serve the whole of Hong Kong? Do we have any roads straddling the eastern and western part of the territory? We spend so much money developing NT West, but in NT West, I think the western part of NT is more affluent. It's a paradise for the wealthy. If you want to cross the harbour, you take the western crossing, if you can afford it. Have you considered building a road linking Liantang with the western part of the territory? Well, I don't understand why not. I'm not trying to get in your way. I don't know whether or not we've already approved the funding for this. I think you have a duty to explain to this council, otherwise it wouldn't work. The western part, the development of the western part has been so slow. The development of Tuen Mun has been so slow. You have to do something. Mr. White, may I ask whether or not you have considered? I think you started out as a highway engineer, right? You're an expert on building roads. Have you considered, building a couple of roads linking up with Lane 10 and how it would link up with the Northern Loop? Director, I already said in paragraph 3 of the supplementary paper, when we made the vehicular and passenger projections, we've already covered, taken the whole territory of Hong Kong. When the train arrives in Hong Kong, and if the existing road network can cope, then we won't need to build new roads. But it is clear now that our existing road network may not be able to cope with the additional vehicular traffic, and that's why we have proposing this link road with the high-speed, highway system. Well, he's not answered the question whether he's going to build, a road going westward. I think the existing road network can cope with the traffic flow from the east to the west. Well, that is not an answer at all. For NT East, if even C.Y. Leung is honest, with so many people living there, unless you don't allow people to work in the western part of the territory, Permanent Secretary, I believe I already have answered the question. When the vehicles come to Hong Kong, according to the model, we are told which are the areas where we need to enhance the capacity. So there's still roads going to the western part even if you don't build a new one. Well, Chairman, the development of Northeast NT is to help resolve our housing problem. Never mind whether people living there will come from the mainland. How can these people go to other parts of the territory from there? If you say the present road capacity road system can cope, that would mean that you don't really need to build the Lane 10 BCP at all. Well, as I said, we don't have any accurate planning data for the Northeast NT development. Therefore, we can't predict the projected vehicular traffic and passenger traffic. When the data is available, we will conduct traffic assessments, and if there's a need to build more roads, we will do that. P.M.Pecuniary, your second round. I'd like to explain to Fernando Cheung that the development of BCP is not only for the sake of Northeast NT, but rather for the overall development of Hong Kong. The development of Northeast NT is only part of the whole. Only 150,000 people will be living there. So that was my personal opinion. Mr. Yu Si Wing, your first round. I'd like to declare that my company operates shuttle buses between Hong Kong and the mainland. Over the last few years, our tourism ministry has developed rapidly. It has enjoyed double-digit growth every year. Last year, there was more than 46 million people coming. From the development perspective, our BCP, especially the BCP on land, already reached saturation. I, of course, support the funding application, but I would like to, what the Bureau is saying, that regarding the distribution, I think Lin Tan is close to Yin Tin. I think for lorries, I think there's serious traffic jam along the Wang Guang BCP. So if you consider the ratio between passenger car and vehicular and cargoes and lorries, and how can you relieve the pressure in Wang Guang? According to our estimate, 18,500 vehicular trips, most of them would be trucks. They will make up, there will be about 15,000. Private vehicles would only be about 2,000. The other 850 will be the cross-border shuttle buses. Any follow-up? Well, sometimes we need to take a comprehensive look at the picture. Don't just focus our attention on Northeast NT. I think this project will have a major impact on the overall economy. Dr. Fernando Zhang, your third round, and you have 3 minutes. Thank you. Our four major BCPs, Lok Ma Chau, Shenzhen Bay, Mengkam To, and Shuttlecock. Shenzhen one now has 9,800 vehicles passing through. Obviously, it has not yet reached the full capacity. Not to mention Mengkam To, the figure is 4,100, 2,500 for Shuttlecock. Lok Ma Chau is 25,000. But Shenzhen Bay, the scale certainly is so large that there's still a lot of spare capacity. We're now going to build a new Lin Tan BCP, the scale of which is very large. If Mr. Sheck, if you say this is for the benefit of the whole territory of Hong Kong, obviously that is that is obvious. But why have we chosen Lin Tan to build a new BCP? A few years ago, we already talked about this project for people to leave and return to Hong Kong through the eastern part. You say we won't make any estimates about those things, or we don't have any accurate planning data yet. Well, you are a planning official. You are responsible for making projections. You must be able to do your. If you can only work out your sums with accurate data, then you wouldn't even do anything. Is anything that you are 100% accurate? That you must have, concrete data. I think most of the planning that you do is based on projections and assumptions. But for this particular project, you want to isolate this BCP. Obviously, this is because of political considerations. The whole Lin Tan BCP is for the sake of developing Northeast NT, but you still refuse to admit it. In the development of Northeast NT, many residents will be affected. Because I don't have very much time, but I hope that for the benefit of those students, I would like to say something on behalf of the residents living there. I think they're not given a fair competition. Take Zhuk Yun Village, for example. Dr. Zhang, I think you have already digressed a bit. Yes, this is a project which affect people living in the Zhuk Yun village. And the compensation scheme certainly is one thing we need to bear in mind before we decide whether or not we approve the project. I'd like to mention that for Zhuk Yun village, They've never divided the village between north, south, east, and western section, but they have differential treatment for the villages. So I'd like to ask the government whether or not you will review your present compensation package. At least for the villages of Chuk Yuen Village, there should be a single standardized compensation package. Don't split them up arbitrarily. 2 points. I must emphasize again that this BCP will look after the long-term cross-border passenger and vehicular traffic. Regarding compensation, the Lands Department has already, pursuant to the compensation plan which has been approved, is already dealing with the arrangements. I don't have anything further to add. Do you have anyone else for the second round? Mr. Leung Kok Hong, Chairman. I said that this new BCP is for the benefit of the whole territory of Hong Kong. This is a BCP, a brand new BCP, which can handle, which is a large handling capacity, and it would. How are you going to actually handle the huge vehicular and cargo traffic? For both LegCo, every time we approve these core projects, very often it will result in traffic congestion. That is the reality. If you say that's not the case, so you're being ridiculous, or your boss is simply ridiculous. When you build the Lintown BCP, you don't know that the biggest show to be staged for Hong Kong, what will be the impact of the development of the Northeast NT. So what exactly are you doing? You're being very honest. Being civil servants, you simply speak the truth. And that means that the development of Northeast NT is something that has been imposed upon your existing plan. Why do we need to develop Northeast NT? We built so many facilities in the western part. When they proposed to build the Hong Kong-Macau Drive Bridge, I said it's going to be a white elephant. This is already obvious. They're building the road, and we are responsible for building the connecting road. It will be fast for people from the other territories. They handle so much container traffic that people don't need to use that bridge. And for those who go to gamble in Macau, they can travel by taxi. So the question is this: when these facilities become saturated, how can you divert the traffic flow and the vehicular flow? You say you have no plans for that. So what are we to do? Does it mean that after we've approved funding, and then what happens if there is serious congestion? You say you don't know what's going to happen to Northeast NT. So we're caught in a dilemma. That is, without knowing what the details of the development of Northeast NT, we are forced to approve funding for the Lintown BCP. Well, you're forcing us to do this. If you could come up with the data, it's a different story. I may even agree to approve additional funding for the project. And secondly, I think it all boils down to money. Who is Wang Chao? Where is Wang Chao Bill? He lives in Shenzhen. He is the Li Ka-shing of Shenzhen. Several of our CEs have good close connections with him, at least 2 of our CEs. So this is where the problem lies. Our basic infrastructures in Hong Kong will change. The planning of these infrastructures will change as they change in the mainland. So, Mr. Wai, are you telling this council that when you design the Lintown BCP, you've not taken in consideration and the projections relating to the development of Northeast NT? Is that what you're saying? Well, I think he's answered the question many times already. Permanent Secretary, since we don't have the accurate planning data for Northeast NT, therefore we cannot make that projection. Well, in that case, could you exercise your professional judgment? Could you tell us whether or not this sort of planning is appropriate? When you know that many people will be living there or traveling through the area, and you're not able to make a projection, and you're asking us to approve the funding to build this BCP. Has there been any precedent? It's not just Northeast NT. If there's new development in any parts of Hong Kong, when there are more accurate planning data available, we would need to make that assessment. Why don't we have assessment for this one? When you design the Lin 10 BCP, you don't have this one. Is it because the government has not given you such data, or did you not ask the government for the data? Or is it that something new has come up and you didn't know? He's answered the question many times already. If you persist, you still get the same answers. Permanent Secretary, would you still like to answer the question? I didn't hear his answer. Perhaps you could answer the question. Well, I'm not a Permanent Secretary. Well, I don't think you'll be willing to listen, whoever is speaking, as we cannot have the planning data for novice NTs. So in designing the Lin 10 BCP, we couldn't do this.
So it's just a wild guess. Does any other member wish to speak? If members have no other question, I now put PWSC 2012-13 number 37 to a vote. Those in favor of PWSC bracket 2012-13 number 37, please raise your hands. Those against, please raise your hands. We now proceed to a division. The division bell will be rung for 5 minutes.
現在開始表決。
Voting begins now. Please verify your votes before I announce the results. Voting is now closed and the results displayed. Voting results: 39 for, 8 against, 5 abstained. The item is endorsed. Item 3, FCR 2012-13, number 65. Government Secretariat, Labour and Welfare Bureau. Members are invited to increase the approved commitment by 200 million for the Community Investment and Inclusion Fund. And on the 10th of December, the Welfare Panel was consulted. For this item, we have the following officials in attendance. Ms. Doris Zhang, Deputy Secretary for Labour and Welfare. Ms. Wendy Leung, Principal Assistant Secretary for Labour and Welfare. Ms. Winnie Ying, Secretary General, CIIF Secretariat. May I now invite Chairman of the Welfare Panel, Ms. Chen Yunhan, to brief members on the deliberations of the panel. Thank you, Chairman. At its meeting held on the 10th of December 2012, the Welfare Panel discussed the relevant funding proposal. Members supported the proposal, but they urged the CIIF to speed up the processing and funding of various applications. And members also of the view that there should be no more emphasis on the continuity, on the sustainability, or whether it can be self-financing, but the focus should be on helping the disadvantaged, and the government should also set up indicators to assess the effectiveness of such assistance and support schemes. And there should be also more assistance in terms of funding to tackle district-level poverty issues, and there should be more policies to help smaller organizations in carrying out community projects to promote integration, and more support should be provided to the mentally disabled, disabled and elderly, as well as people requiring rehabilitation. Any questions? Mr. Michael Tien. Sorry, I pressed the wrong button. Mr. Wong Kok Heng. I support this item, although I'm not a member of the Welfare Panel. I want to raise a point of concern. In implementing the plan, I hope the government can do a better job in monitoring. There should be suitable auditing exercises to assess the effectiveness, whether they are as good as the paper says. We have to make sure that the objective of the fund is successful, this tripartite partnership, and also the family, school, community collaboration, house captain scheme. As for the supporting the chronically the ill and elders, medical welfare, community collaboration, they're all very good. There should be suitable monitoring and periodical reviews carried out. And after some time, say 1 year, there should be a midterm review to to assess whether the money has been well spent and the targets achieved. I hope the government will respond to my proposals. Deputy Secretary, I thank Mr. Wong for your questions and thank you for your support. We are glad to have such suggestions. Every project approved will be assigned a member of the CIF board as a sort of mentor to monitor this progress. And the project proponent will have to submit quarterly reports, and we can certainly carry out reviews or midterm reviews as requested. When the projects are implemented, I hope you would report back to this council every year on the achievements. If you have achieved good results, I think you will be able to get more support from this council for future projects. Well, we'll have to look into this. Each project will last for, say, 3 years. If we have an annual progress report every year, we'll look at the feasibility. Because in the initial period, it will be just the startup, and maybe no achievement can be found at that stage. Well, I'm not asking for a rigid timetable. There should be a midterm assessment and also another one at the conclusion. Well, this would facilitate our monitoring role on how government funds are expended. Next, Mr. Albert Chan. Well, when it was first proposed, I supported it very strongly. I thought it was a very good idea. Now it's a vehicle for transferring political benefits and a platform as well for that same purpose. We should be very alarmed, but well, not so now, because after the reunification, we have a small inner circle where the transfer of benefits is unavoidable. Mr. Chan Kam Lam is not here. Oh, sorry, I didn't see him. Because I didn't want to mention her name in his absence. For example, there's a Kwun Tong residents organization which has been given quite a lot of support. 0026, 0046, 15, 1.5, 1.1, 350,000, and Youth Kwun Tong 0014/15, 0016, 800,000, another 240,000. If you look at the membership, of course, Mr. Chan Kam Lam is the chairman, and Mr. Wong Chun Ping and Ms. Ko Po Ling are advisors. If you look at the composition of this CIIF, you can see that there is an intricate net of relationship among those people. And we are talking about expanding public money. Of course, they can submit applications, so can we. I don't rule out that we can also submit applications. But the reality is that this is about transferring benefits to people in a small circle. This should be about projects to help the grassroots. The original intent was good, and some of the projects have been well executed, but some are just fronts. They would employ people who would help their election campaigns when the time comes. It's about transfer of benefits. So the people power just objected to this strongly.
It's become a tool for the transmission of political benefits. You don't require an answer. Well, he didn't answer a question. Well, the administration can answer the question. Well, he didn't ask the question. I'm sorry. DAB, you don't need to teach me how to chair the meeting. Well, Chairman, I've forgotten my question. You still have time. Perhaps the administration can explain how it can ensure that the scheme will not become a platform or tool for the transmission of political interests and benefits. Thank you. I think the purpose of the fund is very clear. Its objective is very clear. It's a seed. It's a kind of a seed fund, and through different programs, we hope to be able to promote cross-sectoral collaboration, build up networks in the community to help the needy. The funding approval criteria are fair and transparent. It's available. It's been uploaded onto our website. If members are interested in the details, well, the scheme has been in operation for 10 years, and we've approved 251 projects already, of which most of the projects, I think the first one was launched in Yuen Long. In Yuen Long, it seems why there are 40-odd projects, because there are more people who need help in those districts, followed by Sam Shui Po and Southern District. In approving such funding, our approach, it's very fair and transparent. Every time we invite applications for funding, our secretariat will conduct, first of all, a briefing to explain the eligibility criteria, and we also encourage the applicant organizations that they don't need to be a single standalone organization. Several organizations can group together to put in an application. And the vetting procedure, as far as vetting procedure, we have a selection committee under the fund, and the chairman is not a government official. After they make the preliminary assessment, they will make a recommendation to the board of the fund, and the fund will eventually make a decision. I think that's the standard answer I expected. But many of the schemes in Tin Shui Wai are related to the groups affiliated with Mr. Cheung Hock Ming. I just don't want to name them one by one. Emily Lau. We're also very concerned whether or not the administration is setting up all these funds in order to benefit those people who support you. I asked the secretary this morning for the name list of the fund. Every time you mention the committee, you should provide the membership. But now it's been tabled. If you look at these names, I'm sure most of them will come from the pro-government camp. You must understand that you want to be transparent and fair. The membership of these committees, if you want the members to be objective and independent, you can't be lopsided and only select members from particular political parties. If we look at the finance FC paper submitted in February 2002, we were told that there will be representatives of the grassroots and women's groups on the committee. These are the people who want to join, but the committee is not represented by these people. So this is really, annoying. I've also been in touch with many of the grassroots organizations. One thing they want to do is to set up cooperatives. And according to the information available to them, in December 2004, there were 72 fundings to 17 cooperatives. There were 20 in 2007. Within 3 years, there was an increase of only 3 cooperatives. They would like to know the administration's attitude towards these cooperatives. Would you like to actively promote them, or do you simply don't care? In appointing members to the committee, we will consider whether or not they have understanding of social capital and as well as the experience. I think political affiliation is not a main consideration. If you look at the members of the committee, they do come from different sectors. We have academics and people from the business sector. You may find it strange that we have so many people from the business community. The approach now is to encourage more people from the business sector to participate in this sort of projects. Emily Lau, what about cooperatives? You're totally not interested, right? Perhaps our secretariat can supplement. Thank you. I think the CIF encourages community organizations to build up networks of mutual help, and they will come from different groups. For example, the hospitals, the welfare agencies, and the so-called the medical welfare community collaboration projects. Whether or not we should do it in the form of cooperatives, Individual organizations have told us that they want, most of all, the network, and ensure that the network can build up as mutual collaboration and assistance in a sustainable manner. To set up a cooperatives, they have to go through the registration procedures, and that is not the main purpose for the fund to be set up. Our major objective is to promote cross-sectoral, cross-generation, and interracial collaboration. If it is interracial, then you should allow representatives of ethnic minorities sitting on the committee. You have invited so many pro-government business people and also those from pro-government political parties into the committee. It's all totally upsided. I hope the administration will not be so lopsided. Otherwise, you wouldn't have any credibility at all, and the community will be very disappointed. You are using taxpayers' money and you are paying it back to people who are friendly to the government. How can you truly achieve the objective of this fund? This applies not only to this committee. The CPU is now helping you to select people to sit on these different committees. If you continue this approach, you are ruining the credibility of the SARG. You are dumping taxpayers' money into the sea. Chairman, regarding the projects which have been approved, almost 30% of these projects aim at promoting welfare for family and children, for development of youth, 20%, for ethnic minorities, and so on. They would take up 10% of our projects are related to that. My question is whether or not they can reconsider the composition of the committee. Would you consider inviting ethnic minorities to sit on the committee? We'll certainly consider that. Helena Wong, Chairman. Two members have mentioned, talk about the composition of the committee. You've only given us the professional background of these members, but you've not given us the political background and the political parties which they belong to. What Mr. Albert Chen said is valid. That is, members of these committees, on page 1, Chen Wai-ming, Zhao Junheng, Zhang Wing-shun, they all belong to the DAB. Chen Wai-ming is the Federation of Trade Union, right? No, he's not a member of Trade FTU. Anyway, he belongs to the pro-government camp. We have several hundred district councillors in Hong Kong. Why is it that only the district councillors from the DAB will be included on this committee? Could you give us an explanation? I think civil servants should be politically neutral. In making appointments to these committees, shouldn't you adopt a more balanced approach, ensure there is balanced participation, so that you won't be queried as to whether or not there is any transmission of benefits? The scheme has been operated for several years already. I'm not questioning whether some of the projects are really achieving its objective. I'm just asking why, regarding the composition of this committee, it's so lopsided. And secondly, we want what the government does to be to have credibility. Could you give us details about the political background of the members appointed to this committee to see whether or not there is any transmission of political benefits? And also, can you undertake to restructure this committee? And if at the time of the next structuring, can you tell us whether or not you can achieve the objective of balanced participation? Thank you, Ms. Wong. As I said earlier, when we consider appointing members to this fund, their political background and which political party they belong to is not a major consideration. Our consideration is, well, actually this committee is different from other advisory committees. Each of the members, we hope, will be able to will be the mentor for a particular project. So they need to be actively involved. Other than attending meetings, they would need to work closely with our secretariat. If the project is in Tin Shui Wai, they would need to go to the district to monitor the progress of the project and to give the inputs to the organization concerned. We mentioned that we want more participation from people from the business sector, some of whom are district councillors. So affiliation of political party is not a main consideration. Regarding the tenure, the term of these members, they will expire shortly. When we appoint new members, we'll certainly bear the points raised by members in mind. I hope you will deliver this. The next time you restructure the membership, we will not only see members of the DAB or the pro-government people on the committee. You say it has nothing to do with political parties, but you have not been able to convince us that is not the case. You should convince the public through the membership of the committee that you are not favoring particular parties. Next, I'd like to go to page 2. And well, here you've given us only 4 examples where you've provided us subsidies. Some of these projects are quite good, actually. D, for example. And B, you talk about family, school, community collaboration projects to look after the children in Tin Shui Wai and providing them with after-school programs. I think we should encourage that. And then D, medical welfare community collaboration projects look after the chronically ill. That is also very good. The question is this. You say that the period of subsidy for each project will not exceed 3 years normally. If there are projects which have been subsidized previously and 3 years have lapsed, have you conducted an assessment to find out which projects have done very well and should be continued? My question is about sustainability. Let's say B, for project B, is very successful. Assuming that it's very successful, I don't have, and the project in Tin Shui Wai, the family school community project in Tin Shui Wai is proven to be a success. Then after 3 years, can the organization concerned apply for subsidy again? And can they also repeat the same model in Sam Shui Po and Cheung Sha Wan? If you have subvented projects, which, well, Ms. Wong, why don't you, I think you're already repeating the question. Why didn't you give them time to answer the question? Yes, my question is that if these are proven to be good projects, could they become a part of the recurrent expenditure of the Labour and Welfare Bureau, and so that they will become, recurrent services? I think you've already exhausted all your time and you're repeating yourself already. Thank you, Ms. Wong. I think your question, what you've asked, is exactly matches with what we intend to do. Like the Cooperative Society in Aberdeen, we have the house captain system or scheme. After conducting an assessment, we think that we found out that this is a very good model, which we believe can be extended to other districts. So what we have in mind is that for successful projects, they could become our flagship projects, which could be, also, duplicated in other districts. Another example I like to cite is this. In Wong Tai Sin, we have another collaboration project that is within the housing estate. We set up, shops for the senior citizens, so that senior citizens will be coordinators, and we hope that the different stakeholders in the housing estate, let us say people in the business sector, the middle-aged, the young, and women, will also participate. We want to build up, an age-friendly, service, and we found out that the project has been very successful. The organization concerned is now planning to extend this project, and they now have applied now to launch another project by engaging the same group of senior citizens, but they would also like to include the school children, so that we can have cross-generational integration. I don't think you have time for follow-up. You've already spent more than 7 minutes. 7 more members have pressed the bell. So other than this item, we have yet another item. So if members do not exercise good time management, we wouldn't be able to finish discussion of this item. Fernando Jones. Thank you. We are also very concerned about the CIF, which have been relegated to a tool to give out political rewards.
議員呢
If you look at the composition, all the three district councillors are from DAB. Mr. Chan Wei-ming, a DAB member, Madam Zhao Junheng, DAB member, Jiang Wing-sun, again DAB member. My information shows that all three of them are from DAB. Maybe the official can tell us whether it's true. Well, they already said that they did not look into the political background of the members. Deputy Secretary, do you have any information about the political background? As you have said, we did not take that into account in making the appointments, so I don't have the information. Well, if you didn't, you have to now. All three members are from the same political party. It's obviously a bias. So how can we trust the CIF that is going to be impartial? The Deputy Secretary said they are very transparent. I tried to surf the website, but I could not find basic information. For example, how many projects were approved last year, how much money was spent, and how much money was approved for each project. What is the organizer, the content of the project, the program details, and also the financial estimate. Nothing can be found. In the Quality Education Fund projects, all such information will be available. And I can't even find the annual report on the website. There are a number of publications, newsletter, publication, leaflet, special issue of special publication of the CIF. But I cannot have access to its annual report because I want to know what kind of financial data there will be. So through you, Chairman, will the administration or will the Secretariat be providing us with a list in the past 10 years for the 251 projects, the number, the budget, the contents, and the organizers, and also the financial reports. All these should be uploaded onto the website. Well, we have the information, but if it's for 10 years and 250 projects, we'll have to see if we can upload all the information. After receiving the proposals, well, we will give a briefing on how to make it even better, make the plans or projects even better. Perhaps I can ask the Secretariat to supplement. I hope we can wrap up in 10 minutes, in 5 minutes rather than 10. For each phase, we approve certain number of projects, and Dr. Fernando Cheung wants to know the number, the projects approved, and the funding provided. All the information can be found on our website. Annually, the Secretariat would have completed a number of visits, assessment of projects, geographical distribution of projects will be updated annually on our website. I'm talking about individual projects, not the overall total figure for the year. If you say 250 projects are too many, so perhaps you should give us a list of the projects approved in the last 5 years. Well, they are going to collate the information, and then they are going to give us the information. Is that correct, or are you not going to give us the information? But there's a project brief brief particulars of the project is available on a project-by-project basis. But you are saying that Dr. Zhang just could not locate the right place to go. You couldn't find the information, right, Dr. Zhang? Perhaps you can talk to each other after the meeting. Mr. Wu Chi-wai, following up the questions raised by Ms. Helena Wong, for projects well executed, well implemented, they will have to be transformed in some way before they can continue, right? In other words, after 3 years, the project comes to an end. Even for well implemented projects, they must evolve into another one before they can continue with the same work in the same area. Deputy Secretary, Ms. Ying? If the model proposed is assessed to be effective, well, we would encourage them to extend the network and apply the same to a wider scope. For example, it can be replicated, repeated in other areas. For example, medical welfare community, collaboration projects. We have already funded similar projects in some other areas. For networks established, well, in the past, we also funded extension of such network. And with certain achievements, gains, and network established, we hope that they would be deepen the development horizontally and vertically. In other words, they are not going to continue with the original project, even if it's a very good project. I don't think it's the way she puts it. She's saying that even with continuation, there should be some value-added elements. In other words, they will have to apply as a separate and different project. There are more than 200 projects completed. Can you tell us, out of these 200 odd projects, but they are not they are not required to be self-financing. For example, the partnership scheme stresses a lot of self-financing. How many of your projects could not continue because they could not sustain their operations? You mean financially? Yes. Whether the projects can be self-financing or viable on their own, that's not our primary consideration, because we want to have collaboration among different sectors so as to build up social capital. In paragraph 4, it said that the aim is to enhance personal capacity, support network of the disadvantaged, and relieving people from poverty. Can you give us some assessment as far as these aims are concerned? Well, we have been doing this for 10 years. In a 10-year period, there were 2 assessments. And in both assessments, we could ascertain that social capital can be built through such projects and approach. And we have been able to enhance the capacity of the disadvantaged. How successful are they? Of course, you have some general assessment, but what about specific achievements? Well, we have set out some examples in the paper. Those are related to the more successful projects. Chairman, we have raised issues in 2 areas. For example, it seems that the members tend to come from the pro-establishment camp. They tend to dominate the membership. Maybe in the future, in the composition, in the membership list, you should give us also information on political affiliation. Here, well, you have 4 200 projects, and you have A, B, C, D, which are more successful. Well, you should give us more information in order that you can be given more resources. There are many similar projects, the partnership, the self-reliance scheme, and CIF, CCF. So we are concerned about how we can make all these even more successful. Deputy Secretary, please be succinct. Well, this fund is different from others. We are a seed fund. It's not about deploying resources or money to support certain people or organizations. We want to see cross-sector partnership so that the different stakeholders can complement each other, and as a result we can develop social capital in the community. Mr. Leung Kok Hong. But this Chen Wai-ming is not like the other Chen Wai-ming. There are two. One is from Sham Shui Po. It's from DAB. So that they did have a point. Now I have also got another point to make. There are two DAB members. They are responsible for funding, for approving funding. Whom did they give money to? In my constituency, 3 projects. Kwun Tong Residents Association, and who's the chairman of that association? Mr. Chan Kam Lam. 2 other projects were from Youth Kwun Tong. Who is the advisor to the organization? Mr. Wong Chun Ping. Is the ex-liaison office official. $3.3 million altogether was approved. Well, this is really about potential conflict of interest. 2 DAB members. So you are very clever. You can see where that they are district councillors, but you fail to understand that they were from DAB. Okay, I just suppose that it could have happened. Whether it's giving out reward or not, well, it's money. You are giving money to your own people. Why didn't DAB approve funding for me? I'm also there to help the disadvantaged and the poor. Well, I should submit an application. I should give people the congee or meals. Well, and I can bet that no such application from me will be approved. Deputy Secretary, you understand that a conflict of interest can be just apparent, not real. You appoint these people, you spend hundreds of millions of public money, and you allow a situation where there's a conflict of interest. You must be ready for a lot of criticism. Or you can have proportional representation. The DP also had good election results. Why not appoint one of them? And now you have this Chen Wai-ming, who has no political affiliation. The son of the owner of a Rose Goose restaurant. No, he claims no political affiliation. I know. The liaison office and the donation received exceeds 10 million. And still you want to get money, take money away from beggars. Well, it's a messy business. And you still are remarks about this. Wang Chunping organized this organization, Youth Kuntong. And Ms. Kopo Ling served on both organizations. She's a JP. She's one of the chairpersons.
And a consultant of the Kuntong Youth Association. She has hit the jackpot several times. It's difficult to have a dead heat in a horse race. But they are being actually. How can you have a triple winner in a race? I'm not going to blame the DAB. Obviously, this is a coincidence. I have seen a cat being chased by a mouse or beaten up by a mouse. Definitely this has happened. I saw a cat at the Kai-Tak housing estate being chased by the rat. And that is actually very symbolic of what we're witnessing here today. Chairman. The Secretary for Labour and Welfare is Matthew Zhang. I think with a secretary like that, you have permanent secretary also of the same temperament. All our AOs are really outstanding talents, but then with a bad system, even good people will be turned bad. You are smirking, you're not able to answer our questions. You say political party affiliation is not a main consideration. You say it's not a major consideration. Obviously, you have considered that. You've already leaked that out. You always say that political affiliation is not a main consideration. Would it be a secondary consideration? Or at least it's one of the factors you took into account. Why don't you say you've never considered political consideration for affiliation, that all the candidates have elected are appropriate candidates? If you say political party background is not a major consideration, it could be a secondary consideration or one of the factors, then you should have considered the DP, the Labour Party, the Civic Party. You should find one from each of the parties to sit on this committee, but then that would be against the original intention of setting up the fund. It's not possible for us to ask for balanced representation for all the parties. I wouldn't suggest that. But I think there's something seriously wrong with your answer. The accountability system really is causing a lot of damages. Originally, we have really, high caliber, politically neutral civil servants who are now being polluted. And the way you speak, you obviously are, copying Mr. 689. I'm a bit upset. Normally, I only would scold the secretaries, but I wouldn't, point my finger at, permanent secretary like yourself. I didn't want to make things tough for you, but you're not able to answer our questions. If you can't answer the question, simply tell us you can't. You don't know how to answer the question. That is, if you want to support the funding, this is our rationale, these are the benefits of the fund. Why didn't you say that and don't tell us that political affiliation to political background is not a major consideration? You have 3 district councillors, 2 of which belong to the DAB. Do you know about the New Territories, association in Tin Shui Wai and Yuen Long? Of course, we know they have so much, influence. They have influence and connection with the underground elements and the government as well. We don't know the Kuntong Civic Association. All these are organizations, peripheral organizations under the Communist Party. Never mind. But at least we need to know. Don't tell us you don't know. Don't tell me you don't know. 15 years after reunification, it is only fair that the communists will be given the right place. So we want to play, according to this set of rules. Of course, you can't beat them because they have now have all the advantages. Lau Kong Wah has been a veteran electrical member, an EXCO member, and the chairman of the DAP, and now he's willing to serve as the deputy secretary. At least he should be appointed a policy secretary or even a chief secretary. The local communists should actually have, rewards like that. Starry Lee is not yet 40, she's already an EXCO member. Well, this is the broad, direction. Don't tell me you don't know. I don't think you are being politically neutral. We have conducted our own studies. We have the right to speak. We know what's happening. All these advisory bodies, we are never appointed to them, and we will not join either. We want to play the role of a monitor. That's why we're asking you. Let me ask you a more serious question. If you remember, in 2010, the PAC published a report regarding the speed at which the funds are being dispersed. The number of projects approved are very small few. But for this CIIF, which seeks funding from this council, have you done any follow-up work? That is, why is it that it has been so slow in approving funding, and also there have been so few? Secondly, for the project cover Tinshui and so on, many of these things are done by the SWD, and then the CIFF is doing it. Why is that? Thank you, Mr. Wong. We've looked at the operation of the fund over the last 10 years. At the initial stage of its operation, the concept of social capital was not yet very well known in Hong Kong. We've reviewed the applications in the early stage, and very often we needed to spend more time. Very often when we receive a proposal, we need to talk to the proponent organization, ask for further information and suggested improvements. And because of that, it took longer. At the time, we also saw that the success rate for the applications were lower than what it is today. But the fund has been operated for 10 years, and the paper also said that we have different successful examples, and the applicants make reference of the successful models, and as a result, it now takes less time for the applications to be approved. For the latest batch of application, I think they've come in more quickly, and the number of successful applicants approved also increased. Madam Kwok, I'd like to declare that I'm a council member of the Sha Tin Women's Association, and our association has actually applied to the CIIF for one of the projects, but I've not taken part in the operations of those projects, and I was not a party to the application. I would like the administration to further clarify this. There are many members in LegCo who said that we need to appoint people according to their talent or abilities, and we should always ensure that there is respect of human rights and there shouldn't be any discrimination. Could the administration confirm that when considering the appointment of people to these committees, you will not consider the age, sex, political inclination or background, or even the sexual orientation? Many members in LegCo are concerned about this, just because some members today, for different political reasons, I don't want the government's decision to be influenced by their political decisions. I heard that some members are not in support of this project, and I'm disappointed. Within the community, we've seen this fund helping many people in our community, providing them with many opportunities, and it has also helped the development of Hong Kong. Of course, I won't say all projects have been successful. There have been some which are failures. But what we want, the purpose of the fund is that some of the projects under this fund can help the community develop in a better way, and that there could be more integration. Some members have politicized some of the issues. I hope you, if you don't support this project, what is your rationale? Is it based on your own political interest? You're worried that the advantages and benefits will go to your opponents, and that's why you're not supporting these meaningful activities? Or are you putting the overall interest of Hong Kong? Should you should you not object for the sake of objection? Mr. Leung Kong, I don't think you should engage in a direct dialogue. Mr. Leung Kong, it's not time for the two of you to have a dialogue. Please address the chairman if you have anything to say. Chairman, my question is for the administration to confirm again about the criteria when they governing the selection of talents. We would also like to appoint capable people. We want to appoint people who have knowledge about social capital and have the ability to follow up on all the projects. Well, Mr. Cheng Kam Lam, Chairman. Mr. Albert Ho Chan refer to my name. It is true that I am the chairman of the Kwun Tong Civic Association. We have a council, and the operations of the association is under the charge of the chairman of the council. I believe that while I'm the chairman of that association, I don't think I need to make a declaration of interest here. The main reason, as Mr. Chen said, if the Kwun Tong Civic Association could apply, then he could also apply for funding. Any organization willing to serve the community can apply.
個人嘅利益衝突喺度嘅。事實上我亦都聽過咧就
There's no conflict of interest. I've heard from some of the applicants to the CIIF fund, and they told me that to apply for funding for a project like this is not an easy task. First of all, the proposed projects would need to be different from projects already being undertaken by the government or the NGOs. If there's any overlap at all, it wouldn't be approved because the government has already spent a lot of resources on the NGOs for those projects. So anything that duplicate NGO projects will not be approved. Applicant organizations who have to really think hard about things which the NGOs cannot provide service, and then they will do those. So under the SWD, there are certain that is other than the services offered by the SWD, they have to fill up whatever gaps there are. They will need to have innovative ideas so that the service they provide can really benefit the recipients of the service. And when they implement the project, according to the record, the Kwun Tong Civic Association included, they applied for 1.1 million or 1 million. They would need to implement the project over a 2-year period. And during those 2 years, they have to mobilize many volunteers to work on the project. And the funding approved normally is not enough to cover the expenses. Very often they would also need to find additional donations to make up for the shortfall. So these applicant organizations actually are putting in their own money and efforts. They not only work as volunteers. So the CIIF mobilizes when they see any shortfall in services. They would approach the relevant organizations or even the owners in corporations. But according to the records, the truly rank and file organizations at grassroots level, it's not easy for them to apply for funding from the fund. They have their own difficulties. Sometimes they have problems in terms of manpower or resources. We seldom see MACs or Mr. Chen. Are you going to ask any question? Oh yes, I will. It's 4 minutes 8 seconds already. I hope going forward the SWD, when they deal with such applications, they can really lower the threshold for some of the projects so that more organizations can apply to the fund. Otherwise, it will be the large organizations who will successfully be able to obtain funding. And I don't think that is too desirable. You have 10 seconds. Are you going to allow him to answer your question? Deputy Secretary? Thank you. We are constantly reviewing the criteria for application. We certainly take Mr. Chan's suggestion back for consideration. Members, I'd like to extend our meeting for 15 minutes to deal with this project. We have Leung Chi Keung, Mr. Wong for the second round. Are there any members who still like to ask? If there are 10 or 8 or 10 more members who would like to speak, I would prefer that we would defer this to our next meeting. Mr. Yip Kim Yim, if I cannot finish our discussion on this item, I would propose that we defer to the next meeting. We have also Dr. Kokka K and Mr. Leung Kok Hong for the second round. Please press the bell if you wish to speak. Well, in that case, members, I think we may as well adjourn now. The date of our next meeting is the 25th of January.